Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, welcome to the show. It's a Monday, August 21, and here's the good news. Here's the good news. We got no tropical storms here. We got no earthquakes here. We got no wildfires here. We got, I don't know. You know, I was talking to some friends that I bumped into walking the dog the other day, and they say they don't read the paper anymore. So depressing, they say. I know it is. I read it today. I found something that wasn't, and let me share it with you. This wasn't in the paper. This was in the magazine The Week, and it warms my heart, and it reminds us, and this is what we do need to know. It reminds us that there are so many human beings in this world and amongst us. They're still here. And there's a lot of wondrous things that happen. And they don't generally constitute news. We've talked about that. And maybe you've seen this, but I hadn't. So this has to do with a football player in college, Eastern Michigan University. And he had an athletic scholarship. And he noticed that one of his teammates was not only dealing with being a student athlete. I can't imagine, having never been one, I cannot imagine the additional time, burden, responsibility that requires. But he was also working several jobs. So the guy with the scholarship notices that the teammate is working jobs, more than one, being a full-time student, being a football player, and he even was selling his blood. And also that he could pay his tuition and live, be on the team. He obviously did not have a scholarship. The coach had asked the university for just one, could I have one more scholarship for this kid? I mean, he's such an amazing hard worker. And the university, in its infinite generosity, said no. And so the kid with the scholarship, a kid named Ryan Dooley, he said, I got a scholarship. And he should have a scholarship, my teammate. And he called his parents and he said, Mom, Dad, would you mind if I give my scholarship to my teammate? Because he needs it more than I do. And would you be able to, help me pick up the slack? I'm sure his parents proudly said yes. So that's what happened. I mean, it's just, good people seeing someone in need, giving something to help. Happens all the time. It just doesn't make the news, usually. let me start a little slow because it's a Monday and we're tiptoeing into the real world again. And you know what I had been looking forward to? This was the day on which Donald Trump was to have held his press conference. Remember? He was holding a press conference at his Bedminster estate. And he was going to show us the incontrovertible evidence he has that he has done nothing wrong. And as you, I'm sure, know, not happening. He canceled. This is what he said when he canceled. Rather than releasing the report on the rigged and stolen Georgia 2020 presidential election Monday, my lawyers would prefer putting this, I believe, irrefutable and overwhelming evidence of election fraud and irregularities in formal legal filings as informal legal filings. As we fight to dismiss this disgraceful indictment by a publicity and campaign finance seeking DA who sadly presides over a record-breaking murder and violent crime area known as Atlanta. Therefore, the news conference is no longer necessary. Now, the amazing thing about that is he listened to his lawyers. He finally is listening a little bit to his lawyers, which tells you what? He's scared out of his mind. So, yeah. So that ain't happening. Lawyers have breathed a sigh of relief. My God. Okay, so I was thinking today, do I have the energy or do I have the thick enough skin to actually watch the Republican presidential debate on Wednesday? And I suspect I don't. I don't think I can. Maybe I'll tune in every once in a while and then quickly tune out, because the more I listen to these guys, the more I realize it's just simply unbearable. It's unbearable to listen to. Now, I could instead, of course, listen to Donald Trump's interview with Tucker Carlson, which I guess he's going to drop somewhere at about the same time that the debate's going on, trying to screw the other candidates, and Fox News, which is sponsoring the debate. Oh, what a vile piece of work. God, what a vile piece of work. I have to tell you, I'm operating under somewhat of a disadvantage today. My cable provider, which is also my internet provider, has informed me that they are doing work in the neighborhood, and all of this to improve their service to me. They acknowledge that there might be some situations in which I would not have access to their service while they're doing this upgrade. And in fact, that has happened. So I can't get anything on my computer. And when I do the show, I sit in front of my computer. That's where I see the emails you send. That's where I access the stuff, the articles that I've read and send myself. So I am operating under a disadvantage in as much as I can get information in other ways, like that good old fashioned newsprint, which I have a little bit of around, still do. I will do that, but there are some things that I don't think I'm going to have access to. But we'll be okay. Another thing I saw that blew me away, there was a picture of a woman celebrating her birthday with her daughter. Let me just say this. Her daughter, 94 years old. I kid you not. The daughter of the birthday girl is 94 years old. Did you happen to see that picture? The birthday was the 114th birthday. My God! Apparently, this is one of the oldest people in the world. But she lives in Texas, and so that makes. I mean, obviously, that always would make the news. I think I took a screenshot of that picture. Yeah, her name is Elizabeth Francis, and she's 114. And she's there. She was joking. She said, I guess I'd have to say the Lord has blessed me in my young age. And there's her daughter, 94. They live together. They live together in their house in Houston. Whoa. Okay. And here's just one other little factoid that I wanted to share with you, which I do have in front of me because it's just so mind-blowing. We don't have, the Pirates are, they gave us a little false hope there at the beginning of the season, but now we're back to, reality. And there is a player, and he just played here in Pittsburgh. Why wasn't I paying attention? Why didn't I go see him? Because he is, I think most people would agree, the greatest player who ever played the game. And he's worth seeing. And I just happened to come across some of his stats. It's ludicrous. I mean, I'm speaking, of course, about Shohei Ohtani, known as Shohei Ohtani. He's the Japanese 29-year-old with the Angels who is an extraordinary hitter and an extraordinary pitcher. Unless you think I'm using that superlative a little loosely, he leads or is tied for the league in the American League right now. Leads or is tied in home runs, in triples, in walks, in on-base average, and slugging percentage. That's it. No matter what you're looking at, the name at the top is Ohtani. And then he pitches. Nobody else does that. And as a pitcher, he has allowed fewer hits per game than any other pitcher. Batters are hitting only 185 against him. That's the lowest batting average against in all of baseball. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of it. And on top of it, he's this nice guy, a total teammate, not given to braggadocio or anything, just gets the job done. In June, it really is astonishing. Even if you're not a baseball fan, this is, a player for the ages. In June, he hit 394. He was batting 394 with 15 home runs in 27 games, while also winning 2 games as a pitcher and striking out 37 batters. Then at the end of July, he had his greatest day. He threw a 1-hit shutout in the first game of a doubleheader in Detroit, and then hit 2 huge home runs in game 2. Now, some people say that, that he has dethroned Babe Ruth. Most people say that. But some people are still fighting back. Someone who's fighting back put this out. I just want to send it your way. In 1920, over 100 years ago, Babe Ruth hit more home runs than any other team in Major League Baseball. Not any other player. He hit by himself more home runs than any other team. Almost repeated that in 1921. That's just, again, amazing. So I'm not I haven't been to a baseball game in a long time, and I understand they're better now just by virtue of the rules changes, and I just wish the Pirates would step it up. I can't believe we're heading into football already. Okay. So what else do I have to talk to you about? I saw something that just blew me away. And it was, are any of you paying any attention to the Russian-Ukraine war? And who's happy that Russia's moonlander crashed and burned? Yeah, raise your hands. Have you been following? Because it's getting a little skittish and looking a little potentially quagmire-ish, and it's believed that as many as 500,000 lives have been lost in this war. And one of the things I saw that blew me away, well, one of the things we're seeing, if you pay any attention to it, is the use of drones. And we've been heading in that direction for some time. What military is using drones, unmanned weapons that can pinpoint a target and be operated from a safe place. Well, warfare is always, figures, a time of innovation it is out of wars that a lot of things that then we just, take for granted. They are then repurposed for domestic purposes, perhaps. Just focusing in on naval warfare. In World War One, well, no, actually in the Civil War, I'm saying, let's go back a little bit. In the Civil War, the innovation was, of course, ironclad warships. World War One, you got the first U-boats. Right? World War II, I'm just talking naval operations. World War II, battleships got nudged or pushed aside off their, what am I trying to say? By what? Aircraft carriers. And have you been seeing what's happening now in this war? Ukraine, the Davids up against the Goliath. Ukraine has pioneered the use of sea drones. And it is the first country to unhappily find itself at war and to use sea drones at large scale. Now, the aerial drones we've seen a lot of in this war, but the sea drones can apparently pack a huge payoff and take down big ships. And a drone might cost, where did I see? Am I thinking this could be true? $200,000? Taking down a huge ship that costs hundreds of millions? My guess is, and it's not my guess, military historians and experts are saying that we are seeing with this a huge change in how naval warfare will be waged forever. Now, I'm thinking I'm doing subjects that normally girls aren't supposed to be interested in. Warfare and baseball. But that is fascinating. And the shift to using these technological advances and the artificial intelligence and the drones and all of that is where we're heading. And it's a little bit unsettling because it means that entities that don't have necessarily a ton of money, like a group of lunatic terrorists, can also make these things, drones, right? And take down, just think of drones in terms, don't. I don't want to ruin your Monday, but it's just mind blowing. And if, I hope Ukraine can prevail. Do you remember when we always called it the Ukraine? Why was that? I've stopped because that's not what I do anymore, but we used to say the Ukraine. Was that when it was part of the Soviet Union and we looked at it more as, well, you also say the Netherlands. What other countries do you do that with? Oh, the United States. You don't say the England or the Great Britain or the Germany. Why is that? I'm just asking. So I don't think I can get you could email me if you want. That's Lynn Cullen show at gmail.com. And what I'll do is I'll check my phone mail, okay, and then maybe be able to see you there. You can also, of course, call. Just saying. I want to share the obituary of the day because I knew this woman, and she was a wonder. And I was really saddened to see her obituary in yesterday's New York Times. She lived in Madison, Wisconsin, where I lived before I came to Pittsburgh. And she was a power. Her name was Ada Deer. I don't expect that any of you would know her. She was a member of the Menominee tribe. And what happened is after World War II, and you might not have known this, but after World War II, the federal government started eliminating the sovereignty of a number of Indian, I'm going to just use the term that was then the term, of Indian tribes. Because if you were acknowledged by the federal government of the United States as a tribe, you received not enough, but you received some financial support and other things. And there was clearly an effort that went on for years where Washington, trying to save money, I suppose, and just screw the Indians one more time, decided that some tribes weren't really tribes. And that's what they did with her tribe, the Menominee, which was a tribe that I knew well because it was a tribe in northern Wisconsin. And the federal government told the Menominees that they were, in fact, despite what they knew, they were no longer a tribe. And they were informed of that in 1961. And she was probably about 17 or 18 years old at that time. And she was stunned. And it set her off on a activist political career. She said that act of termination, of saying you essentially don't exist as a tribe, she says it affected her and the tribe economically, culturally, to have that recognition taken from us after, as I suggested before, so much had been taken already. She spent years meeting with Congress people and senators, writing polemics, organizing protests. And do you know what? 12 years of doing that paid off. And in 1973, damn, if President Richard Nixon did not sign what was called the Menominee Restoration Act. And she became, they didn't call it the chief, but she became its first chair. And so the Menominee now are recognized, and that was Ada's doing. She was the first member of her tribe to graduate from the University of Wisconsin at Madison. She also was the first to receive a graduate degree. She was the first woman to ever lead the tribe. And she also was appointed by President Bill Clinton to lead the Bureau of Indian Affairs. First woman to lead. And that didn't necessarily work out so well. Because Ada as a force, well, it says here in the obit, on her first day, she insisted that the big desk and small rectangular table in her office be replaced with a small desk and a large round table to break down the hierarchy that she felt pervaded the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And by the next day, the new furniture was in place and she was not, because she almost immediately set off on a tour of reservations. Her first stop being Pine Ridge in South Dakota. And there she vowed that she would reform the Bureau of Indian Affairs from top to bottom and make it actually work in the interests, what an idea, of Native Americans. But that's where things started to go, because she was in this huge bureaucracy. She was part of the Clinton administration, and she was expected to be a team player. She just couldn't quite do it. And every time she tried, then she caught flack from Native Americans who expected her to be their unwavering advocate. She ended up making enemies in the Clinton administration and among Native Americans. And it says in her obit that most observers think that she did the best with an awful hand. If nothing else, she successfully defended the agency against severe budget cuts demanded by Republicans after they took control of Congress in 1994. She was a remarkable woman. Here's something I learned reading her obit. Her mom signed her up for a contest. This would be back in 1940. Her mom signed her up for a contest run by Columbia Pictures. The contest was to find the 6 most beautiful Indian girls in America. Ada won. And her prize was she got to be an extra or a cameo appearance in the 1954 Western, The Battle of Rogue River. Spent 2 years in the Peace Corps. She was constantly involved in politics around Madison. She was a professor at the university there. She ran the American Indian Studies program there. Retired in 2007. She never married. She said she thought a family would slow her down. Ada Deer is 88 years old. Beautiful. Anyway, wanted you to know about her. Special woman. I had a sickening beginning to my day this morning. I always wake up because the dog, I open my eyes and there is this dog sitting like right next to me with his head almost he's just sitting there staring at me. He wakes me up that way. It's not like he's very quiet. He's not nudging me. He's not but if you're being stared at, believe me, somehow you know it. So, Blue stared me awake this morning, and I grumbled because I had not had a great night's sleep, and it was before the alarm, and but it always makes me laugh, and I let him out in the backyard. I got up. I got back in bed and I started scrolling through the news. And I came upon something it said like Pittsburgh. It was a local news story. And it was one of those things that you click on and you get like 2 or 3 sentences and then you get 7,000 ads. But I clicked on it because of the headline. Because the headline was there was a picture of Mayor Gainey and Congresswoman Summer Lee. For those of you who don't know, 2 black people, 2 very powerful black people, the congressperson from here and the mayor. And the headline with that picture was social justice warriors driving once great Pittsburgh into the ground. And I thought, here we are. I remember I've been telling you all these stories, and local media are involved in disseminating them too, of all of a sudden Pittsburgh being some kind of a cesspool is in large part 2 things: total racism from people who can't tolerate the idea that black people have power in this racist city. Okay? That's 1. 2 is, it is a Republican, and let's remember they are a neo-fascist, racist, nationalist party, right? It is a Republican talking point. To attack cities, and almost all are, run by Democrats. And to suggest that crime is off the charts, homelessness is off the charts. It's true all over the country, homelessness, drugs. This is not a Pittsburgh issue. It is a national issue, which we as a nation have not addressed. It was there when white folks ruled here. When Bill Peduto was mayor. The drugs, the homeless people were downtown. I don't recall seeing these stories. And then, of course, they discount the fact that there was a pandemic which emptied the downtown. When I started reading this thing, I ended up being transferred to something called the New York Sun. And damn, if then I didn't see that Larry Kudlow Fox News was behind this, of course, big shock. And guess who'd written this piece of crap? The name might ring a bell, because she lives here. Used to see her on CNN. I don't think anyone can stomach her anymore. Selena Zito. And I will read you just a little bit. At the center of this collapse is Mayor Ed Gainey, who, after taking office, has done nothing to address the city's collapse. And then she goes on to paint a picture of, if you walk downtown, you're walking, there's feces and urine, all of it. There was before. But if there are black people in charge, my God. And there are so many white liberals who are jumping on this bandwagon. Enrages me. Hey, Josh, your email came through. Josh says, you mentioned using the word "the" with Ukraine. When I worked at a world music radio station in Canonsburg, there was a world music radio station in Canonsburg? Okay. We aired a pre-recorded show called Song of Ukraine. This was the early 90s. I introduced the show over the air as Song of the Ukraine, and a Ukrainian listener called and corrected me. He said it was not proper to use the word "the" in front of it. I think it was left over from the Soviet days. Okay, yeah, I think that must be it too. But as when I started talking about it, I mean, there are other, including us, the United States. The Netherlands. Give me some more. Well, we used to say the Soviet Union. You didn't just start by saying Soviet, you could say Germany did this. But with like the Soviet Union, you would say the Soviet Union. Maybe because it was a union, so there was, I have no idea. I don't know. I go down these rabbit holes when it comes to words and how we use them. Anyway, I want to tell you that, whoa, there is so much crap out there that is, and they're selling, they're trying to get you to, sign on for a subscription to this crapola, this poison. Oh, here's something. Let me see if I can get it. If I got your email, maybe this thing's working right now. No. Well, isn't that odd? Well, how did I get your email? Don't understand. Okay, I don't pretend to understand anything anymore. Did you see that our district attorney, that would be Stephen Zappala, this isn't going to come up either, for God's sake. He has joined the, what's it called? The site can't be reached. I can't get it on my phone either. Well, why would that be? My phone isn't the same. I'm sorry. I'll shut up. I'll stop. Okay, so I'm having the trouble I feared is occurring. He has said he is now an affiliate with the Forward Party. Who ever even heard of it? And of course, it's made up of. I think that this is what I remember. The Forward Party is the brainchild of remember that Yang guy, the business guy Yang, who caused a little bit of a stir of interest the last time Democrats were looking for a presidential nominee. Andrew Yang, yeah, that's his baby. And Zappala, and he will run as I guess he's going to run on the Republican ticket, right, in the general election. But he says he's an affiliate of the Forward Party, and I guess he said goodbye to the Democratic Party. And the Republicans and all the other folks who are scared to death of progressives will be behind him, trying to keep this scary guy Dugan, who knocked him out in the primary, from winning. And Dugan is so far and away not a, crazed radical. It's ridiculous. He would just like to address some of the glaring issues in our so-called criminal justice system. So the phone works. I have a caller. Okay. Come on in.
Hey there. Good morning.
Hi.
Hey, I like to keep it lighter, but when you're talking about Ohtani, he is an amazing athlete.
Oh my God!
And I mean, and they want to compare him to Ruth. He's playing in a different world than Ruth was.
Yeah.
I mean, Ruth, he wasn't going against the athletes. This guy is.
True.
That being said, though, Ruth penalized himself and probably had a greater career if it weren't for his extracurricular activities.
I know. He was carousing and drinking, and he must have been quite an amazing character.
I read an autobiography about him, and he just sounded like a man-child who was never socialized. He's lucky he lived as long as he did, because he just had no self-control.
Right.
As a great athlete he was. But that being said, when they're talking about, Hank Aaron, because he had a lot more at bats than Ruth. Hank Aaron was probably playing against, I bet you, the best pitching in the 60s and 70s that Major League Baseball ever saw. I mean, that was the year when, the lead leaguers and hitting weren't even hitting 300. They had to lower the pitching mound 6 inches to give the batters help, and they shrunk the strike zone down a lot. But Hank Aaron was great too. I mean, I don't want to take anything from Ruth, but I don't know. It's just Aaron doesn't get the credit he deserves, and he was steady throughout his career. But again, back to Ohtani. When I was growing up, pitchers, no matter what level, whether it be little league or high school or college, they are always the best athletes, and they could always hit. I don't know if you experienced that. I don't know if you played much sports at all.
No.
Growing up.
Girls were not allowed. I told you we had no girls sports teams at all In school or extracurricularly? None. Zero.
And yet there's all those women who are against all this. There's conservative women who want to go back to the good old days.
Yeah, those are the good old days, right? Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it was just, Ohtani always proves my point, though, that pitchers are your greatest athletes. Because you know how hard, I was a good athlete, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't hit a small strike zone like he could, plus have the power that he has. He's incredible, and there's a lot of great athletes who started within probably the past 20 years, 25 years. Dads are the worst ones, dads and kids. They specialize kids when they're like 8, 9 years old. So you're going to be this, and they don't get to do anything else. So I don't know. It's
sad. It's sad. It's sad how, when parents, have these dreams and put them on their kids instead of letting the kids find their own way. It just makes me nuts.
I had a nephew. He was 12 years old. He was already 6 feet tall. In high school, he was already throwing a pitch 90 miles an hour, but he only could pitch. My brother had him only pitching. And this kid could probably do anything he wanted, but that's all he did. But that's the norm nowadays. So anyway, but Ohtani's great, and I think everybody should look at him as an example of what's possible. But yeah, that guy is amazing.
Do you know if the Angels are by any chance playing any more games in Pittsburgh this season?
I don't know. I haven't been to a game yet this year.
I haven't either. But if I want to see him, so maybe next year. I don't know. If he doesn't get traded, they just kept him, right? Re-signed him or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that was amazing. They were considering trading him.
Well, think of the money. I don't know. He must. I don't understand any of it. But I do know that he is literally phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd get to see any game, but I would really like to see. And while we're on, I'm just checking the schedule. I don't think they play. Sorry.
Okay.
No, they don't play them.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
you. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Hey, I want to, I haven't said anything about this SOB, but I've come upon 3 separate little things about him. And I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Tuberville or Tuberville, that nitwit Republican senator? This vile human. He is, well, the way we've, sorry, I'm babbling. Or I'm not babbling, I'm hubba hubba. I think there are 4. 3 of our military branches. I know the Navy, and I think coming up is the head of the Joint Chiefs. He is one senator, something wrong here, one effing senator can apparently block the confirmation of all of the, well, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I don't know what the number is now, but I have over 300 high-level military officers, including the chiefs of 3 of the branches, are unable to be confirmed leaders in their positions because of this SOB, who never served a minute in his life. It's the Army, the Navy, and the Marine Corps. And is it the Army who it's a woman, the first woman to head it? So they're all those seats are essentially vacant. And you know why? because he doesn't want any of our troops or their spouses to be able to get an abortion. This is being done to protest a Pentagon policy that pays the expenses for service members who have to travel to another state to access health care for abortion. Pentagon's not going to dump that policy. And it's just amazing that this creep can do that. And then I came across this. Unbelievable. This was in the Week magazine. The Washington Post reports that Tommy Tuberville, who supposedly represents the great state of Alabama in the U.S. Senate, doesn't live there, is not a resident, does not own property. He's been living for years in Florida in a $3 million beach house he built. How is that possible? You look at the Republicans and it's like one despicable crook, grifter, liar after another. Oof. All right, I've worked myself up now. I just want to point something out. As the summer comes to an end, the Jewish high holidays are with us coming up. Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, and I got to tell you something. I have a feeling that a lot of Jews will be fearful. A lot, it's like some Christians don't go to church unless it's Christmas or Easter, right? Well, a lot of Jews don't really see the inside of a Jewish sanctuary, except for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And I have the feeling, given the intense security that they have to go through and the presence of police and the knowledge that the Jew killers are restive again. I don't know. So I want to tell you something that's happening, and I read this in the New York Times. There have been at least 26 what are called swatting calls aimed at synagogues in 12 states across the country in the last few weeks. And what that means is somebody's calling the police and saying that there's a bomb or there's somebody trying to kill themselves, and the location they give is a synagogue where people are praying. And so the service, and a lot of the synagogues that have been hit with this stuff are live streaming their services to those who can't, for some reason, get to the synagogue. So they live stream them. And so the sons that call in these false police needs for police 911 calls are sit and watch as they watch, because they live stream the service, and then they watch the cops come in, and they watch the frightened congregants run for the doors. And they laugh and laugh and laugh. And then, they post the clips of the running Jews on social media sites. Did you know that was happening? And obviously, this is to create fear and anxiety among Jews as we head into this holiday season. So, and the thing is that then these get, posted on those right-wing sites, and other people see them, and they get excited, and they get, animated to copy it, do the same, or worse. And I just want to say again, thank you, Donald Trump. Thank you, Republicans, you cowards, you haters, you bigots, you unleashers of such hate and violence. And it's all on you. Anyone who votes for a Republican is part and parcel of it. That's all I got to say today. I'm out of here. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.